don't know why Mr. Don forgot to mention something because he's actually into exports. Yes. And he didn't mention that because that I think is one of the companies that I know that are actually into export in South is very well. Serious export. And that's one way to generate forex. Because once you do exports, you already have forex, so you don't need to go back to the CBN to ask them for forex or go to the black. In fact, the CBN are now looking for them to buy forex from them. Then coming to my own journey, um, I would say I've always been at that young age with my dad when I was very young, and that's when the first time I ever knew of Tiger Foot. I've known Tiger Foot since I was in primary school. So, and there was a time my dad was one of the consultants at some point, and I noticed something both from my dad and which has helped me, and I'll relate it with the five subject matters we have, which is focus. Because the truth is, for instance, the other day, Dangote published something. He said that he knows that most of his staffs have houses outside the country, but him himself does not have one outside the country. He said the thing that has killed the youth today is that at every little instance we start a business and we start seeing money flowing in. The next thing that comes to our head is, what car should I buy? What house should I build? And we don't know that these things are liabilities. He said, instead, reinvest. A time will come, you now have the money in excess. I believe today that the person that went to go and buy the Bluebird cannot afford, I'm sure, cannot afford the kind of cars Mr. Don drives today. And that's the truth. And which has helped me. Onitsha Business School today, which I knew how it started from nothing. That is a multi-million business. We have invested over millions of dollars into that because of accreditations and partnerships. And because we are focused, we are disciplined, knowing fully well that it's about impact. Whatever business you see yourself running today, and I'm running, it's the society that owns it, not you actually. That's why that ownership part comes in. Because there's this saying, what you don't own, you don't owe it. Whatever you don't own, you don't owe it. And that's why we see there are so many companies today that I knew very well in the 90s that were booming. We have the Premier Breweries, we have the Olympic Packers. These are companies that were in Anambra State, well booming. But what happened? Immediately the owners died. The company died, not the business. The business didn't die, but the company died. Why? Because there was no form of ownership. Everybody felt, person will get and don't die. Therefore, let's leave it and find our way. And that's one thing that we did not fail to do in Onitsha Business School, because what happened? So many people started with us and felt that, yes, it's a business school, money is going to flow. But they're forgetting that Onitsha is, let me tell you this, for those of us that are doing business, Onitsha is a very strong city. And if your business can survive in Onitsha, your business can survive anywhere in the world. And looking at education, most times the traders will be like, what is it that I'm doing that the business school is going to teach me? Let me make this note that Mr. Don is not just a trader. He's a trader, he's a businessman, and he's an entrepreneur. 3 at the same time. If he had remained just a trader, I don't think he would have been where he is today. And that's why he will be able to get partners, because traders don't have partners. They believe it's me, myself, and I. They do the accounting, the sales girl, everything themselves. So there's this form of ownership that we need to have in everything that we do. And that's why in Onitsha Business School, what we do is when you're coming in as a staff, we implant the vision into you, which most companies do not do. That most of us are here today, and that I'm here today, and some of the speakers are here today, all the speakers are here today, is because Ifeanyi was able to implant the vision of the Onitsha Twitter Hangout in them. On a normal day, Don will not appear here for this kind of thing. But because he was able to implant it into us, and that's why everywhere is filled up by now. And then coming to resilience, I'll use physics. You know, when you say if something is resilient in physics, you say when it's drawn, that is elasticity, to the maximum, and then it returns back to the original shape. There was a point in Onitsha Business School that my dad had to work outside in his consultancy firm and pushing money into that place because it can't generate the money that it used to sustain itself. At that point, it was more like, let me use the word, going bankrupt. But at that moment, we are drawn to the stretch point. But you see today, Onitsha Business School is still standing. It's about 9 years old now. And we have come back to the original shape. Using the same scenario that, real life scenario that Mr. Don portrayed, he was drawn to the last point, but still he was able to come back. And that's where you either adapt or you adjust or you adopt into that situation, whatever case it might be. Today we're talking about fuel. Fueling, it has increased. Most of us have decided to park our cars. Most of us have decided to trek some distances before we enter tricycle. But the truth is that for me, I have not stopped driving. In fact, what I drive, it consumes much more fuel. But what I do is to adjust to the current situation and then look for other ways to be able to foot that bill. That's resilience. The truth is that we as Nigerians as a whole have been drawn to that point where we almost break, but we're able to come back to original shape. I think maybe because of the kind of spirit we have, but bringing it back to business, not everybody might be able to survive it. And at some point in Onitsha Business School, it was as if nothing was happening. There was a point where you have one student in a class, and you have 8 facilitators teaching one student. Now, the student at some point had to ask or say, please, I've had 8 lecturers teaching me, and I know how much I paid. How do you pay all these people? That's because we understood that the value we are bringing, it's not about we trying to make money out of it. Yes, the money is going to come later, but it's about the impact you're about to make. I don't think there's any family that currently doesn't have a product of Tiger Food in their house today. That's the truth. He has brought in value into the system. And then when it comes to collaboration, but sorry to say, that's one thing that's affected most of the businesses in Southeast. Nobody wants to collaborate. Everybody is thinking negative about the other person that wants to come in. But that's something we didn't do in Onitsha Business School. In Onitsha Business School, we have so many partners. The UN Global Compact, the Europa Cast for Business Education, CIPS, ABMA UK. And these people, we had to partner. Because if you don't partner, the cost will be on you. Just like, for instance, Mr. Don, he said, because of the partnership he has had, that's what made that company to be able to send the goods again after he had paid for him to be able to produce. If there was no partnership, no collaboration, nothing is going to happen. Something currently, there's a project I'm working on, which very soon most of us will see because it's something that most of us will use. I know how many people have called to be able to partner, and they are willing to partner. And now, this is a business that should cost me nothing less than 100 million. But because I'm bringing in partners, I've not even spent up to 100,000. Because they are going to come in with their own parts. What we just need to share is the profit. Even if, just like most companies Dangote have today, most times, check it, he does not have the majority shares of that company. I just need to have, even if it's 10% out of that business, and I'm good. Then coming to execution, which I really want to dwell on properly, is that in execution is, I would like to put it under implementation, because under implementation you have execution and you have control. What happened to the bottled water or sachet water factory that my colleague, the other speaker spoke about? was that there was no proper planning. For instance, in building a house, you can't start the building that day and roof that day. You can't start a building that day and roof that day. They are in phases. As you're executing, you ought to be controlling. What happened with the pure water factory is that they waited till the end before they started control, and that's why they lost out in the market. If at every point they were implementing, executing at every activity, they would have been able to should have been able to control and know where they're having issues. For instance, I think Toyota has about nine stages before the car comes out. At each stage, they control, they check if if at that stage, maybe as the point where we are supposed to fix in the chassis, they check if there's anything wrong at that moment, they correct it. Instead of waiting till you finish building the car and you find out that something is wrong and you now have so many cars gone because you must destroy to start again. But if you are executing, you are controlling, that way it will be better for us. And that's why it has helped us, the businesses we have, even the school that I run, which I'm making some changes today, and the Onitsha Business School, there has been a control at every phase. So for some of us that are already in businesses, and for some of us that are starting businesses, we should understand that it's not about running a one-way traffic and then you get to the end and you see that the place is blocked and you try to go back. At that point, you might have consumed all the resources you have and you can't regain them again. And that's why I see some people, they will try contemplating suicide, nothing is working, village people is on my neck. No, there was no village person. The truth is that you never had enough knowledge or relevant knowledge to be able to address those situations. I think I'll have to stop.